welcome you. It's time for View from Military Mind for August 14th, 2021. Views and opinions about world and national events from the mind of a military veteran that has served and defended this country since 1978. Insight that has been molded by the commitment and sacrifices of the Americans that are defending and have defended our freedoms for the past 246 years. Unfiltered, unedited, and certainly not PC. We are those people. Let's stand up and stand firm. I want to welcome everybody to the first show of season three. Apologize for last weekend when we couldn't kick it off. We had some technical difficulties. Our broadcaster and Facebook and several others didn't want to cooperate. They wanted to be a pain in the butt. So hopefully everybody's hearing me. Everything's going well. Glad to be back. Couple of admin notes we'll get into here right real quick. If you're ever interested in sponsoring the show or you would like to advertise on the show, by all means, you can get a hold of me at vfamm2020@gmail.com, or you can call me at 256-468-8792, and I'll put that up on the screen here in a little bit. But we're looking for sponsors for the show. This does not happen free. Or if you'd like to advertise on the show, I can give you all the analytics and the specifics on that and let you know how things are going and how we can reach out for you. Of course, as everybody knows, this is a view from my military mind, and we have several other folks that they participate or they advise for the show and let us know what their thoughts and views and opinions are. And we always encourage everyone, no matter what is going on there, what's going on in our political climate or in our national events, to educate yourself. Don't just go blindly and following whatever dictum or indoctrination that you have set yourself into. Everybody has a choice. We have our freedoms. I've served many years to protect those freedoms, and I will continue to serve. In fact, I'm still doing my thing. And this is one of the greatest countries on the earth to live in. I've been over 32 different foreign countries and all 50 states. And our 50 states are the best you can find around the world. It's a great place to live. So hang with us. We're going to get into a couple of things here today. I would really like to have some interaction from my guests on here. Welcome, Jim Don. I'm glad to see you, Ed Dozel. These are two gentlemen come over for another show that I co-host on. As many of you know, I co-host on Moving It Right, which is a political talk show where we talk about Americans' freedoms and those things that are affecting us now. It is a conservative show, but I invite everybody to check us out. It's every day at 11 o'clock Eastern time with Rich Ashton, your host for Moving It Right. And that's at 11 o'clock Eastern time, 10 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Mountain, and 8 o'clock in the morning West Coast time, Pacific time. But I'm on there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I am the co-host then. And I'm able to share my viewpoints from my military mind and from all my years out there. Of course, some of you know I've been around for a while. Will not get into what other people think. So anyway. But yeah, Moving It Right. Again, welcome, Jim and Ed. Glad to see you on there. Hopefully you sent out messages to other folks to join us on the show. We are on Facebook and YouTube. I finally got my broadcaster to cooperate and get me back on YouTube. So if any of you are having issues with Facebook, you can kick over to YouTube and watch and see what we've got with the show. You can send me comments and questions on the chat page on Facebook and YouTube both. You can also send me on Messenger. I'll pick it up and see what you have, both on my personal page and on View from Military Mind Facebook page. Excuse me, a little bit of a cough from the damp weather we have here. The first thing we're going to get into, we're going to talk about the COVID-19 and what's going on with the U.S. military. Back on the 9th, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin who some of you have heard my commentary about Secretary Austin. Not a big fan. Uh, then I'll leave it at that. I won't get into this. Is not about Lloyd Austin himself and his personal and how I feel about him, but he's really gone off on the rails here, mandating or going to try to mandate that U.S. military personnel across the board, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, um, Space Force, whatever that is now, anyone that's associated with the military and the contractors and civilians on these bases, make them get this COVID-19 vaccine. Now, a couple of caveats come out on that. Um, he may be in violation of some laws and some Supreme Court um, findings that have been in place concerning military personnel. I have to excuse me. Now I got to get some glasses on to. I'm getting older, so it's harder to see sometimes, and I don't like COVID, or I don't like contact lenses. Back on the 6th of August, there was a letter that came out from Representative um, Mark Green with 17 other signatures on it, where they're basically, it says, Dear Secretary Austin, it has been widely reported that you're planning to mandate COVID-19 vaccines for all active duty troops in the United States Armed Forces. Now, this also includes your reserves and your National Guard. It goes on to say that the law of the United States is clear. Mandatory vaccines is illegal for military personnel prior to complete approval by the FDA. This is covered under Doe versus Rumfield, that was done in 2004. So this has not occurred and could be another several months away. Furthermore, other statutes address this. In the wake of the Tuskegee study scandal, the National Research Act of 1974 enacted specific stipulations of consent to conduct research. Okay, back in that time frame, back in 1974, if you're not familiar with the Tuskegee study, it was a study for syphilis for a vaccine, and they did not get the consent of the individuals from the Tuskegee to do this. They just started giving them the vaccine. So the court has said, no, you can't do that in Doe versus Rumsfeld. And the National Research Act of 1974 says you cannot do that. It's illegal. But Secretary Austin intends on either getting an FDA approval for these vaccines or getting President Biden to sign a waiver. Okay. He can't do that. It has to be approved by the FDA approval. Now, if the FDA approves it, they can go ahead and make everybody get it. I mean, my God, we've gotten vaccines. I don't know how many different vaccines I've gotten in my entire career. I know just within the past year, I've probably gotten 8 different vaccines because I don't have a choice because of the places we go, the kind of diseases that we run into. But here it's an experimental, it's emergency use only. It's absolutely it's crazy and it's not authorized. They go on in the letter say, as long as the vaccine is authorized under an emergency use authorization, the Department of Defense does not have the authority to implement such an order. Service members who do not wish to receive the vaccine cannot be required until the approval process is completed. Any action to require it is illegal. The Secretary of Defense is not above the law, and the courts have concurred. I researched it. I looked in it. Like, I encourage everybody, educate yourself. Look into things. Don't just take my word for it. Read into it. And the Supreme Court has concurred. You can't put this stuff into people without their consent. Okay. To be clear, we believe COVID-19 vaccines are not only a testament to American ingenuity, but are also safe and effective. We commend the men and women of the Department of Defense for their tireless efforts in spearheading Operation Warp Speed, which was the operation to get vaccines out to those who wanted it, and developing this vaccine in record time and under immense pressure. Despite that, it is clear that the mandate you are considering is an unprecedented violation of federal law. We urge you to reconsider and would welcome the opportunity to discuss this with you. And thank you for your service to our nation. So our representatives have made it very, very clear they're not going to let this go. You can't, just because you are of a particular belief, doesn't mean you can violate law and force this on people. We are still a nation of freedoms. We have the right to decide. Whether you agree or disagree with the vaccine is not the point. You cannot force upon people your beliefs just because it's you. Okay. Do what you want to do. When you start forcing people to do something against their beliefs, you create animosity, you create division, you create infighting, you create a whole plethora of things that you don't need to be having. And we're hollering enough now. We have enough of that division now. We have enough of that. Why do we want to continue to create it? Okay. If you honestly look at the numbers of the COVID, especially in the military, they are extremely low. Okay. They're extremely low. Now, I'm not saying the decision of the many and sacrifice of the few. There's been no sacrifice but one or two in the military. These are healthy people. I know, I work with them all the time. Okay. If you continue to push to take away additional freedoms, the right to choose, the right to speak your mind, the right to practice what you feel is proper, if you take all those away, we don't live in a free country anymore. You're establishing a socialist and Marxist regime. Okay. I don't care whether you get the vaccine or not. That's your choice. And I fully support that. I also support and have defended people's choice not to take the vaccine. Okay. It's experimental. Has it done good? Yes, it has. The numbers are out there. But let's pay attention to what these numbers are actually about and what they're like out there and not misconstrue them or use them to beat somebody up over it. Okay. If you don't want to get vaccinated, fine. Don't get vaccinated. Simple. Don't do it. If you want to get vaccinated, go ahead and get your vaccine, but don't beat people up just because they didn't. First off, it's none of your damn business. Okay. I'm not going to run around and tell people if I am or am not vaccinated. None of their damn business. You fall under HIPAA under that condition. For those medical people out there that I know and listening, you know what HIPAA is. That's the law that protects you divulging information or people getting information about your medical and health care and your health. Okay. So, um, as I went into researching this, I found more and more uh, that actually makes what Secretary Austin is trying to do a violation. He's violating Title 45 and Code 21 of the federal regulations. They specifically spell out no one, that includes the Secretary of Defense and the president and all that, no one can force you to take an experimental drug against your will or without your consent. Okay. Military personnel, everybody says, well, it's not a democracy in the military. No, it's not. But there are things in place that the service member on active duty, in the guard, in the reserves can do. You don't have to. You don't have to follow an illegal order. Okay. If you don't believe me, check with your JAG, check with your lawyers. They'll tell you you can refuse to obey an illegal order. And with everything that I've found, this is tantamount to such if it's put into place. Excuse me. Going through here to. All right. You're not putting yourself in jeopardy. Some people may think. People may try to convince you of such. That you're jeopardizing your career and you're jeopardizing punishment. And they have said as much. They will punish people if they don't do this. Wrong answer. Get with your NCOs, get with your officers at your unit level. Okay. At unit level. And have them get you the information or go research it yourself. Go talk to your JAG officer. Go talk to legal and tell them, I want to see the statute. I want to see the codes. I want to see the regulation where it says you can do this to me. So protect yourself, stand your ground. Don't believe it just because somebody put it out. We see how our military is going now with the wokeness that they're trying to do. They're concentrating more on being social justice warriors than being warriors for military sake. I mean, I thank God that the men we've got in Kandahar right now, the Marines that are in there to bring people out of Kabul, are true warriors. They've been able to maintain their training and get there, but we're sliding down a slippery slope with all this social justice BS. I mean, the military is one of the diverse populations in the nation. I can proudly and rightly say that during my entire time, I didn't have racial issues going on. I mean, we had a few. Don't get me wrong. I misstated that, but we were able to solve them. And when we got in conflict and when we got our butts in a bind, we didn't care whether that guy next to me was black or green or yellow or brown or whatever his color was. We knew he was a brother, he was a sister that was there to back us up, to have our back when things got rough. We could have cared less what race or what culture he was. Even up until my last deployment, it was the same way. But I could see and I could tell from the difference between 1979, 1978, 1979, the 80s, the difference. Even from 2012, when I went to Afghanistan the first time, there was starting to be a difference, starting to see the woke, starting to see the justice warrior stuff come up, the social justice BS. And a battleground is no place for that. I want to stay alive. I want to come home to my family. And so do the men and women around me. They want to come home. They don't have time for it. All right. So, all that being said, I know there'll be some people, and you can write to me at on View from Military Mind Facebook page. You can send me messages on there after the show or during the show. Uh, you're more than welcome to. I will entertain everything that comes across to me, whether it is for, against. You don't like me, you don't like this, you don't like that. Um, I welcome everything. Just make sure you're educated. I don't go for conspiracy theories. I will not buy into them. Have evidence and proof of what you're talking about. Okay. Um, I don't support all this craziness going on out there where people don't have absolute evidence of what's going on. Um, whatever group you want to belong to, that's great. That's your choice. That's what I fought to give you freedoms for. But yeah, make sure your theories are not theories; that they're based in good, solid um, education and evidence. Welcome Mandy Walker on. She just came on. Hello, Mandy. Good to see you. Had a long time no see. Um, and you're right, Mandy. We were told to stand by each other no matter what, to protect each other side by side. It means you have my six and I have your six. You're right. It doesn't matter. So it's great. Mandy is a veteran, currently still serving, I would imagine, I think. Ed Dills was asking me what the promised surprise during today's show is. Ed, I'll get to that in just a little bit. Just a little bit. It has to do with what we're going to do as we start moving forward in this season and this year of the show. So it's something we've talked about with Rich Ashton, who you know, and we're going to try some additional stuff. And Mandy, yes, it's good to see you too. Well, see you writing up there. But yeah, COVID-19 vaccines, mandatory in the military. They're looking at September 9th. I'm figuring, or I'm assuming, that there's going to be some pushback on this. There hasn't been any more news come out on it as of late. I looked this morning. I looked yesterday. So let's hopefully Secretary Austin sees the light and he realizes that he's got to do this the right way. Again, I say if the FDA approves this, that's a whole nother story. I'll support it being done, as that's the way it is. It means the FDA has approved it. But right now, under its current status as an emergency use only, he's in violation of a code, a statute, and 2 Supreme Court decisions. So please, General Austin, don't put yourself in this kind of position. You've had honorable service. Let's not fuck it up now. Okay. And Jim Don, that was one of the things that was said. He says, I bet they use this to separate people from the military. That's one of the narratives that's going around. That's a possibility. They'll try to judicial or non-judicial punishment or possible separation if you fail to comply. Now, again, we get into a whole legal plethora. I am not a lawyer, so please don't mistake what I'm giving you as legal advice. I'm an old NCO that knows I need to go research things. I need to go find out and talk to the proper people. So those of you that may be listening that are in the military, don't just go what I say and go off on half cocked and not what's going on. Don't know what's going on. Go talk to your legal or go talk to JAG. Make sure you are standing on the right footing. If you want to know what those codes and statutes and court cases are, by all means, write to me at vfamm2020@gmail.com, or you can direct message me on Facebook on the View from Military Mind Facebook page. And I will get you those codes and statutes and those court cases. They're out there to be found. Educate yourself before you step off in it. Okay. Same with I suggest the same thing to people that are not military, that are not veterans, that are not active. Before you step off in an arena that you're not sure of, that you're not educated in, educate yourself. I'll send the same information to you. If you have any questions about things I say on here, please quote what I said, and I'll give you the information to back it up. All right. Okay, moving on to the next subject. Ed, you've already blown the bag out here. Here's the couple of surprises we've got starting on the next show. We have a little more interaction. Like I said, we're trying to find new sponsors, trying to get some folks to advertise on the show. Like I said, this is not free. It really is not free. So it comes out of my pocket. So it's great if I've got help. Things are getting more and more expensive as we go along. We know how our economy is going right now. We've got the administration dumping billions and trillions of dollars into things that, okay, I haven't been able to read all of it. 2,707 pages for the most recent infrastructure bill. The next one, I have no idea how big the documentation is. I haven't been able to make it through the first 1,000 pages, but it's scary. Okay. So in that light, it costs me a little bit more each time I put this, and I love what I do. I love getting out here and talking with y'all. I love interacting with those that are out there. I love seeing folks I haven't seen for a long time, like Mandy. I love talking to folks like Ed Dozel and Jim Don, who on all the time with me in this show and with Moving It Right. So now one of the big things that we are going to do, and I managed to go around a circle to try to get there, is next week we will be able to facilitate live call-ins. We'll put up a phone number on there that you can call in, be live on the show. You don't have to identify yourself, but you can call in and talk with me on the show live on Saturdays over your telephone and discuss what you want to discuss with me on the show. We're going to have some additional guests. That list of guests, these are some pretty cool people we're going to have on board. I'm going to put that list out probably this coming Thursday. I've had some offers from some rather prominent, what I call talking heads. I don't want the talking heads. I want the common guy like me and the guys I worked with and some of the others out there. I want to hear it from the ground level. Mandy, I'd love to have you come on board. Be a guest on the show. Be live on the show with your face on the camera. Ed Dozel, Jim Don, anybody who'd like to be a guest on the show. Yeah, that's right, Ed. Live call-ins, that will be cool. It'll be interesting because I've gotta have somebody help me screen those. I don't want the nutcases getting in here. But, it is gonna be interesting. I've always enjoyed that kind of thing. I've called into a couple of shows where I was invited to come, be a guest. Um, and call-ins can always be really fun and really interesting. They can make the show really lively. Now, I understand why Rich doesn't do it, but, with this show, uh, I'm going to do that, and we're gonna have live call-ins. So, that'll be on the next show, and we'll get that. We're working on getting that set up and getting the equipment in place. But yeah, anybody that would love to be a guest on the show, by all means, contact me. VFAMM, VFAMM 2020 at gmail.com, or drop me a direct message on Facebook Messenger, and I'll get you the guest link. And we'll chat a couple of days before the show. That way we know what our topics are going to be, or what road we're going to go down. And that way we're not running over each other and not surprising each other. Uh, but yeah, that's the couple of surprises there, Ed. So I hope that's what you like to hear. We've got some other things in the works and in the plans. It's just time. Like I said, I'm it. I produce, I write, and I host the show. So it's a handful that I have to handle. Just to get this show here together takes about 16 hours. So again, if you know anybody out there who would like to sponsor the show, or anybody that would like to advertise on the show, again, write me at VFAMM2020 at gmail.com, or direct message me on Facebook page, and I will get the information to you and all the analytics and the stats about the show, so you can make a decision if you'd like to sponsor or advertise the show. All righty. So moving on to the next thing here. We've had some recent events come about. It's been all over the news, and it's the final withdrawal out of Afghanistan. And this morning, there was uh, a video on Fox News and OAN and some of the other news stations of the Marines flying in, over 3,000 Marines flying in to evacuate U.S. citizens and embassy personnel out of Kabul. And it hit me really, really hard from a memory I have when I was young. I was a teenager. Um, hadn't quite turned 14 yet, but I knew my uncle had just come from there. Or yeah, I was 14. I wasn't quite 15 yet. In 1975, the evacuation of Saigon out of Vietnam, and the disappointment of the American people, and the disappointment of the veterans that had been there, the men and women who fought in Vietnam, was palpable. It was so thick you cut it with a knife, because they knew we had lost that war. We had cut bait and run. We Because of the political inroads and the political infighting, and all the people in politics and the military industrial machine, with all their influence, it was no longer a war to stop what was going on, stop the advancement of communism. It was a war of money. It was a war of politics. And Afghanistan turned out to be the same way. We should have gone in there just like we did, put an end to it, get the government set up, and get the hell out of there. Let them handle their country. Instead, we keep trying to nation build, which is not what our job in the military is. We're not a nation builder. It was ignorant. I've seen young men laying on stretchers in the back of my helicopter who gave parts of them, if not the ultimate sacrifice, because of what has turned into a political war and a war of the military industrial machine. The last time I was there, I saw more damn contractors than I saw military personnel. Why are you here? To make money. And this is not to say anything against the individuals. This is against the corporations, the big companies the big techs that were over there, the politicians making millions of dollars, billions of dollars off the back of the U.S. military personnel that were over there. We were towards the midway point. We were over there just to protect them, so they could get what they could out of the country to make their money. That's the way I see it. The Chinese, even when I was there in 2012, were making saber rattlings and inroads to get into Afghanistan because of the lithium deposits, some of the largest in the world that have never been exploited. They've never been taken up. Bits and pieces here, but the Afghans don't have the infrastructure to take it. They don't know what to do with it. To them, it's another natural resource within their company they don't want messed with. Okay. We have to keep in mind the history of Afghanistan. They've been doing this kind of mess for over 3,000 years. Ed Dozel, good to see you. Thank you for being on. We'll talk to you again later on in the week. Sorry you got to take off, but I'm glad you came on. But the Afghans have been at this for years longer than we've been in existence. Now, even Alexander the Great, after building all the castles and forts and things there, finally said, I've had enough of this crap. These people don't care. And he deed him out. Hitler wouldn't even go into Afghanistan, circumvented the country. It's like, no, I can go around this way and I'll go here. The Russians, when they were there before we came in, got out. It was not sustainable. We should have learned our lessons from history, but because we didn't, we're bound to repeat it. And we did. Yes, initially we went in for good purpose to make dang sure our country's not attacked again. And we've been very successful at that. But now we stayed there for longer than we should have, in my opinion. And now we're evacuating in the most disorganized reduction of troops I've ever seen or read about since Vietnam or before Vietnam. Somebody had made the comment to me earlier in the week, I think it was on the other show that I was on, that we're leaving a lot of sensitive items and things of that nature behind. No, we're not leaving sensitive items behind, but we are leaving a lot of hardware behind. As a promise, a lot of it's supposed to be left behind to the Afghan government. But talking to men and women that were over there, a lot of it is being destroyed, cut into scrap, and is given to the Afghans to sell so they can make money to do what they need to do. We're still losing a lot of things that should have been brought home. But everybody got in a hurry. Oh my God, we got to go. All right. Even during President Trump's administration, he had a good idea to start moving us out, slow and methodical. Time to give us time to figure out how to move his equipment back that we needed to remove or how to destroy it. Come January this year, Joe Biden comes in and it's, oh my God, we got to get out of there now. Screw it. Now look where we are. The Taliban has overrun over 3/4 of the country. Places that still stick in my mind of that I knew of: Ghazni, Khost, Kandahar, Herat, Tarankot, Spin Baldak. These are places that I know me or my fellow medevacs and soldiers know of people we lost, know of people that were injured, but yet we're going to just pull out, abandon, go away. I never thought in my life that I would feel the feelings that my Vietnam veteran brothers and sisters feel when something happens like this. Now you question, was it worth it? Have we accomplished really what we set out to accomplish? We may never know. My heart goes out to the Afghan people for those who wanted to keep their freedom, those who are suffering now at the hands of the Taliban. We've always known that the Taliban was the base and the supporters of Al Qaeda, yet we still allow them to continue on. And like several have told me, we'll probably be back, maybe not in the force that we were in, but we're going to be back in some capacity because it's going to fall. I see Kabul falling probably by the end of the month, if not before. Taliban has made it known since day one that we were there that they wanted their country, they wanted Afghanistan back. So, thank you, politicians. Thank you, industrial machine. We spilled blood to protect our nation and to help out another, and we've screwed it up the past 10 years. Just let it go. People, it's time for us to get our head out of our fifth point of contact and use those powers that we have available, as in the vote and standing our ground, protecting our rights, and removing these people that do these stupid things. Okay, Jim Don, you're right. Where is General Patton when you need him? Well, if you read his history, he was constantly in trouble with the president and everybody else under the sun because he didn't care. He was there to do his job. He was a warrior. He was a tanker. He did the job that he needed to do. And politicians be damned. They probably would have got a barrel of a tank shoved up their butt real quick. Reading his histories, he was a rough, but he was a hell of a military man. Excuse me. We don't have those people anymore. Our general officers, remember, general officers are not selected based on a promotion board. They are selected by Congress. Ever think about that? Yeah. Now you know why some of your senior officers are so adamant about being politically motivated and correct. Now, I've met some good general officers. They're not politically motivated, and they don't. If they are, they don't pass it down to the troops. They're few and far between. I can give some names, but they know who there are. One of them, uh, Greg, you know who I'm talking about if you ever listen. They're good officers. They didn't let politics get involved in their job. But there's others out there. They're shooting for that first star. They're shooting for the second and third star, and they become nothing more than political hacks, a tool for whatever party they belong to. And yes, I'm including Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Green, whatever party they're associated with. They become a hack for them. They forget where they come from. All right. The colleges and institutions that train these officers, whether it be ROTC or West Point, are nothing more at this time in history than a socialist indoctrination factory. West Point not being as bad because they are military oriented, but there's starting to be etchings and inklings of it in West Point, in Annapolis, in the Air Force Academy, in the Coast Guard Academy. These young men and women that go there to those academies, and when they come out, talk to them, see what their viewpoints are, see what they feel about social justice. It will amaze and appall you. Okay. If they come out of an ROTC course, they're in mainstream academia. They're getting their military training, yes, of course, but they're also going for their other degrees to help them in their careers. And that involves the indoctrination that our higher education, our systems of higher education, higher learning are putting forward. They're the ones bringing CRT. They're the ones bringing the woke culture. Oh, and those officers maybe listen to me. You're not the only ones doing it. Okay. I'm seeing it from the lower enlisted also. I know I'm there on the ground. I talk to these men and women. I see it coming from all around now, but y'all up there at the top started it because you didn't take control to help our military out. You turned us into a social justice warrior um, uh, organization, or trying to. All right, I've gotten my soapbox. I got off of the Afghanistan thing, but Afghanistan is going to turn into be a nightmare for us. Do we go back there? I don't think we need to. Coin operations will probably continue to a certain point. For those who don't know what coin is counterinsurgency operations, where we go in there and try to keep insurgents and terrorists from getting back. But we'll see what the future holds. We know the Taliban's going to wind up taking over. Um, I don't think the government of Afghanistan is going to survive this. Does their military have the training? We tried. Do they have the equipment? Yeah, they've got the equipment. But I'm already seeing images coming out through all the news feeds that I get and the organizations I belong to that the Taliban is starting to take some of those. The little birds that we sent over there, the UH-60s, the Hind Air helicopters that we rebuilt for them, the Humvees and things we left behind for the Afghan military and the Afghan police. Taliban's already taken control of those, already taken those. Granted, they don't have any pilots that I'm aware of. They may surprise us one day and have a helicopter pilot be able to take one of them things off. But this is expensive equipment we left over there for them to utilize. And in some ways, the secretary or the press secretary for the Pentagon was correct. They have the capability, they have the equipment, they had the training, but they don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the standing that we do. They don't have the love of country that we have to stand our ground and stop what's going to tear you apart. They don't have that over there. Most of the Afghans that I had the privilege and chance to talk to while I was there just want to be left alone. They just want to live their life. Just like any other human being on the face of this earth, want to be left alone, make a living, and live their life. Most of them could care less about what the government is as long as it doesn't affect their crops and doesn't affect their livelihood and doesn't hurt their family. All right, I have been on my rant and my raves and my opinions for the day. I really appreciate everybody that's been on here: Ed Dozel, Jim Don, Mandy Walker, all those that I don't see on the chat, and those that are going to be coming up later to watch it on a replay. I thank you all very much for supporting the show. Again, if you know anybody out there that would like to sponsor the show or would like to advertise on the show, by all means, get a hold of me at vfamm2020@gmail.com, or you can direct message me on Facebook, or you can call me. Call me direct at 256-468-8792. That number is not for comments about the show. That's for sponsoring and advertisement. But I look forward to hearing from everybody. Those who watch and listen, please, by all means, become part of the show. Send me your comments. Send me your hate mail. Send me whatever you want to send me. We'll use it however we can. But always remember, no matter what goes on this show or any other show out there, whether it be mainstream media or if you watch One American News Network or whatever other different show is out there, always educate yourself. Don't be the lemming over the cliff just following it because everybody else does. Just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean it's ever been right. And just because some talking head on TV is spouting it out doesn't make it right. Okay. That includes this talking head right here. Just because I'm spouting it out to it, educate yourself, research what you want to know, research those things are being said. So until next Saturday, everybody have a great rest of the weekend. I hope you have a fantastic week coming ahead. Remember your men and women that are still deployed across the world. We're still defending the world freedoms and our freedoms. Um, and remember our first responders, our police officers, and our EMTs and our firefighters, our nurses and doctors are on the front lines of this pandemic and protecting us every day as far as our firefighters and police officers and EMTs, paramedics. Remember those men and women in your prayers and your thoughts and your rituals or whatever genre of religion or spirituality that you're involved in. Remember them in your prayers and your thoughts. So until next Saturday, this is your host, Terry Mills, View from a Military Mind, saying good day, God bless, and God bless America.